Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Bluetron, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. So today we're going to be pawing around in the ashes of an old format, trying to cobble some kind of rogue strategy together, because when everything's rogue, nothing is. This leaves the field wide open to try fun decks that will all just inevitably lose to Draco. Today we're trying a deck inspired by the multitude of awesome Link enablers that Konami left untouched, a variation on the synchro plant builds of old Link spam. So here's the list. Now right away you should be able to tell there's some weird stuff going on. It's been a while since we've seen Mathematician and Dandelion out of the penitentiary. We're playing just about every possible engine you could think of, and since it's not like there's a history of this archetype that hasn't been built yet, we'll just go directly into a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and as always, the card by card. So I hope this deck can fill the shoes of Synchro Plants. That's an archetype that spooked the format for a long time. In fact, its engine cards like Debris Dragon were just taken off yesterday. Unfortunately, Synchros aren't particularly good anymore thanks to Master Rule number 4, but maybe by substituting Link monsters, we can have a go of it. We're playing a lot of the old tools that made Synchro Plants very powerful, as well as some new toys like Gofu and Zoodiacs to barf out as many Link materials as possible. As I'm sure you're aware, the current number of available Link monsters is quite small. We're working exclusively off Code of the Duelist, but with some of them, like Firewall Dragon, we have powerful options, so it's possible that they're worth a look. With any luck, we'll be linking Dandelion into linking Proxy Dragon in no time. So with that, let's jump into the card by card. First, we're playing 3 copies of Blackwing, Gofu the Vague Shadow, a card that I was very surprised to see escape the wrath of Konami. This card represents a 1-card decode talker, and now that we have Proxy Dragon, we don't even need to screw around with garbage like Link Spider. Next is Mathematician, back at 2, finally, doing its best impression of Gofu by binning a copy of Dandelion. It's the same basic formula, but it takes a normal summon. After that is our Zoodiac suite. Oh, man. Even seeing them after the ban list is a little depressing. It's not particularly hard to set up a couple of materials off of one Zoodiac thanks to Chakanine, and with Tiger Mortar they can still get quite big, but all of the combos are pretty reliant on getting this Rat Pier into our hand. We've maxed out on Whiptail just because I think it is good to get over things that otherwise Decode Talker can't. After that is our Plant Engine, and God, does it feel good to say that again. We're on 3 copies of Lone Fire Blossom, which is a classically powerful card, and 3 copies of Orpheus Scorpio, which is similarly strong. This is most of the reason we've got such a high monster count. Drawing Scorpio gets us at least 4 Link materials, as well as an extra normal summon, so it's one of the most powerful cards in our deck. Of course, this card is useless if you draw into our next card, Predaplant Darling Tonia Cobra, which, if summoned by Scorpio, fetches a brilliant fusion. After that are our 3 Garnets. We have 1 actual Garnet, 1,000 Blades, and 1 Trick Clown. It's not actually that big of a deal if we draw into one of the Clown Blades, since we can just discard them to Scorpio, but it's still annoying. And just so drawing this clown doesn't shut off Brilliant Fusion, we're playing 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. After that are our spells, 3 copies of Brilliant Fusion, 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki, 1 copy of Mind Control, very funny to take something and then immediately use it as a Link material, 1 Raigeki, 3 copies of Zoodiac Barrage, which I can't believe made it out, and finally rounding out our lineup is the Solemn Boys. In our extra, we've got Zoo Dudes, 1 copy of Tiger and 2 copies of Chalk. For 4s, we have a copy of Tornado Dragon and a copy of Castel. We have a MX Saber Invoker as well, 1 copy of Seraphinite to round out the Predaplant combo, and several beautiful Link monsters. We're playing Firewall and Topologic Bomber as our top end, the latter of which I don't actually expect to ever get out, as well as 2 Decode Talker, 1 Mrs. Radiant, and 3 Proxy Dragon. So with that, let's jump into the games. So our first match is up against ABC, a deck that's expected to be quite good in the upcoming format. You can see we're going first, which is excellent. We've opened very well. Our opponent has opened okay, but certainly it's going to be difficult for him to play through our massive turn 1 board. So we'll go ahead and start with the Fire Formation Tanky to get a Ram, then go into Lone Fire Blossom, getting Orpheus Scorpio. We'll discard said Ram for a Darling Tonian Cobra, getting a Brilliant Fusion number 2, go into Invoker, go into a copy of 1,000 Blades, go into a Mrs. Radiant, then use Brilliant Fusion to get Seraphinite, get Trick Clown, and of course 1,000 1,000 blades after we take the 1,000 damage. After that, we'll go into a Firewall Dragon, use the extra normal for a Mathematician, mill a Dandelion, and send these suckers away for a Proxy Dragon and these suckers away for a Decode Talker. So now we have an active Firewall Dragon on our side of the board, which is excellent. Our opponent's going to start with an Empowerment. I'm not particularly scared about that. When they go to Union Hanger, I will Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit the hell out of that card, and then as soon as they make a rank 4, I will return it to the hand with Firewall Dragon's incredibly overpowered effect. We draw into a monster, which is excellent. It means that we can push for a little bit more damage. Unfortunately, I think we're just slightly off lethal once they get back the 1,000 blades. Yeah, we just barely miss it. So our opponent does get one more shot, but because he couldn't return something to the hand, there's really nothing he can do. And to add insult to injury, he draws into Garnet. He'll go ahead and take 9, then get 1,000 blades and suicide. Our second match is up against Paleo Frogs, and this deck is also expected to be quite good in an upcoming format. Unfortunately, we are going second despite opening quite well. We don't have access to any of our plants, but we do have Brilliant Fusions and a Gofu. But a couple of Solemns may screw up our plans. This will give you a good idea of how the deck plays through hate. Our opponent's going to start by special summoning this Swap Frog, binning a copy of Swap Frog, using Pot of Desires to draw into another Solemn and a Reckless Greed, getting the Ronin Totem out, normal summoning this Dupe Frog, and going into a Totally Awesome setting 3. So you have 2 Solemns to chew through as well as the Totally Awesome. We'll start by activating this Gofu. The Gofu is going to get struck, which is number 1. Afterwards, he'll go ahead and take this Zoodiac Barrage. We'll activate this second Gofu. I expect that this will resolve, but unfortunately I am wrong. 2,000 life points later, we're going to have to be happy with a couple of Dandelion tokens, a Proxy Dragon, and a Decode Talker. We'll afterwards use Brilliant Fusion to just kind of make some materials to sit by Decode Talker, give it things to destroy, because I expect it will be targeted by some sort of Paleo Trap in the near future. Our opponent's going to start by using Fire Formation Tenki, and then using the Zoodiac Barrage to get out a copy of Thoroughblade. They'll go into a Leica, get themselves back the Ram, and into a Mrs. Radiant. Afterwards, they'll Reckless Greed and Pot of Desires down to 2 cards. Of course, they are under Reckless Greed, so it's not that big of a deal for them. They'll go into Decode Talker of their own, then a Totally Awesome, walking over the majority of the things that I have on my side of the board and passing it back. So I can walk into their Decode Talker, but can't do much else. We'll instead walk over the Totally Awesome, and unfortunately we get Wabaku'd. He's going to Oleanoids at end step. I'll try to negate it, get negated by Totally Awesome, but of course you cannot set the Decode Talker because he cannot be set. So now all I have to chew through is this Decode Talker and maybe one more Totally Awesome, and I should be in the clear. Maybe he'll deck out. He activates the last Reckless Greed to get a Paleo. Just because it stops him from drawing, it's okay that he has 0 cards in his deck. Where are my Dark Bribes when I need them? He'll go ahead and attack over a Trick Clown, forcing us to take 1,000 and then do 33 to our face. We are in dire straits, and unfortunately his board is looking very formidable. We draw into a Predaplant, Darling, Tonia Cobra, set it and pass it back, knowing that we're not going to make it until the end of this turn. So unfortunately, despite Konami's best efforts, it looks like one of the best decks in the upcoming format is going to be True Draco. It's a little different of a deck. It's a little more Masterpiece-oriented, basically a Masterpiece Turbo at this point. And because Masterpiece is so bad with Card of Demise so often, several builds have eschewed Card of Demise entirely in order to play the small Spellbook engine. That's what our opponent is doing. We get to go first, which is something, but we may have a bad time of it. We'll start by special summoning this Blackwing Gofu the Vague Shadow. Unfortunately, we've drawn Dandelion alongside Mathematician, which is a little wonky, but still not a giant deal. We'll go into a Decode Talker, bin a card with our Rat Pier, go into Tiger Mortar, attach ourselves a copy of Whiptail, go into a Leica, and pass it back. So it's not a particularly frightening start. Our opponent's going to start with a Duality, grab themselves a copy of Dragonic Diagram, then use the diagram in order to get a Majesty Maiden, destroying our Decode Talker in the process. We'll Tribute to negate, but unfortunately that's the end of our Leica. They'll Pot of Desires for 2 cards. Here comes Majesty Maiden and 2 cards off of the Heritage. They will attack over our Decode Talker, terraforming into a second copy of Dragonic Diagram, use it in order to get a Masterpiece, and then use their extra tribute to make a Masterpiece that has spell and monster immunity. So I don't think there's any way I can get over this. Of course, the draw off the top of the deck is going to be Ghost Ogre. They're going to strike our Dandelion to prevent us from going any farther with another Link monster, and I think that's just it. So we're back with the deck. It's been a while since I've had a deck go 1-2. Woof. This deck has a lot of moving pieces, it is very difficult to play, and this list is definitely not optimized, but I think more than any individual card changes, it would benefit from a good sit down and walk through of how each combo functions and what the best possible ending boards are. That's an exercise I'm sure I'm going to partake in the following weeks when I'm not hopped up on children's Tylenol. Additionally, this deck only gets better as more links come out. Once Circuit Break and the several very powerful generic link cards contained therein show up, we might have something on our hands, but until then, this really just feels like a bad, clunky DDD that ends in a mediocre finisher. So that's that. Thank you so much for your patience this month as my body reveals that it has absolutely no immune system to speak of. If you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I'm on twitch.tv/monobluetron every Monday and Thursday from 10 to midnight Eastern Standard Time, links in the description. And as always, if you have a certain idea for a deck or archetype you want to see me play, let me know in the comment section and I'll try to get to it. Otherwise, I'll see you Sunday.